Okay, some things we talked about. So the first thing was adding open strings to the power chords, or fifth chords. Fifth chord, technical name for a power chord, because we're playing just the 1 and the 5, and that's just the 1 again. So you added in the open strings on that A5 chord. You added in the strings on the C5 chord as well. So technically it's no longer an A5 or a C5, but I'll tell you what they are if you want to know. But we'll save that for next time. So the idea behind this is, like, certain keys, like key of E minor, key of A minor, you can use these open strings to add some color to what you're playing. You can do that. Really on any of these strings that you want to. So it sounds pretty good doing strummy stuff when you have the clean channel on, or just arpeggios like that. If you have the distortion on, I think it sounds better if you just do more of arpeggio type stuff. Kind of add some atmosphere to what you're playing there. Let's see, the other chord type stuff we did. So you asked, like, what the heck was that riff? You had a riff. I'm not going to remember the strumming pattern completely. I know you had the D5, then you had the C sharp augmented fifth, and then you went to the G5, and then you went back to D5, and I suggested you could use that D major chord there because you're in the key of D. So let me try and remember it. We'll try and strum it somewhat. That is definitely not it. I can't remember. Something like that. I think it was like ended like that, and I suggested throwing that chord in there instead, just kind of add some color to it. So that's something you can do. Like, so I gave you all those chords in the key of C or key of A minor. So doing something kind of like that bridge you were doing before, just between the A5 and the C5, you can do something like this. Kind of do a combination of the two, like between the A5 and the C. Or you could go between the C5 and the A minor. So anytime you have a power chord, you can think, or you can try one of these triad shapes and see if that sounds any better to you. You're going to have to keep in mind what key you're in, and keep in mind, like, on the notes. So, like, let's say you're doing something in the key of G, you go between a G5 and an A5, and you want to see how it would sound if you made the A5 one of the triads. So if you went like to a G5 into an A major, it wouldn't work with the rest of the song because it's out of key. It really depends on everything that's going along with it. But if you're trying to keep it in the key of G, it's not going to work because an A minor is what happens when you start on A in the key of G. So those are things to keep in mind. You got to make sure that that you're making it the correct triad for the key that it's in. Now, if you're not in a key and you're just kind of playing whatever, that's different. It's really all about the sounds you want to create. So you can do stuff to where you're like just moving minor chords around all over the place. In fact, that's a fairly common thing to do in black metal. They just move minor chords all over the place. Well, that's enough of that. That's just one example. Like major chords. You can do stuff. Things like that where you're just moving a major chord around. And it can sound kind of cool that way. So you don't always have to make everything in key, but for for everything that you've played me so far, it has a very melodic sound to it. So it kind of makes sense sonically to, and I guess you could say harmonically, to keep things in key. But a lot of times, a lot of metal type stuff does not always stay in a specific key. Like I like to move around these minor 7 shapes, major 7 shapes, not minor 7. You got the 1, 3, and the 7. I think those sound really cool when you just kind of move them around different places. So instead of moving power chords around, I like to use these stripped down major 7s. They sound metal. Okay, I think that's about everything we talked about. I know I wrote out the 3-note per string scale shapes. Just use those however you want, and you can certainly create chord shapes within that, like within that C shape. Those are the 3 that I like to use right off the bat. Same thing with that. Even that one kind of fits in there. Ooh, that's where you ended up. So yeah, you can come up with all kinds of really cool stuff just staying within those scale shapes. Kind of cool, like play some chords and then kind of do a lead off of it as well. So, see what you come up with. Hopefully it will help you with your songwriting and creativity. Alright. Well, if you have any questions for me, please let me know. But see you soon.